We begin with continuing coverage of the deadly plane crash this morning in Augusta.
It happened shortly after 7 o'clock on Hillcrest Avenue, not far from Wrightsboro Road, Walton Way, right down from AU. News Channel 6 confirming Jason McKenzie, who worked at Augusta University as an associate director of philanthropy, was the pilot and the victim in the crash. That news also confirmed by First Baptist Church of Augusta, where McKenzie was a member.
FAA investigators reached the scene about an hour ago, and they are working to determine what went wrong aboard that plane. They say McKenzie was an experienced pilot with about 800 hours of flying time last year. They say there was no distress call because Daniel Field does not have a tower. They also say they're not speculating at this time on his flight path.
News Channel 6's Barkley Bishop joining us live now from Hillcrest Avenue. And Bark, we talked about it before, but Jason McKenzie really is, and really rightfully so, being called a hero.
Right. Oh, absolutely, Brad. Hero is the word that we keep hearing, and the word miracle, because look what he avoided. Where he landed that plane, or where that plane landed, is feet away from the front door of this home. And you know this area, these homes are close by. There's trees everywhere. This ladder truck right here behind me, you can't see above it, but they're getting that wing out because that's where he initially hit. That wing came off and then it hit right into the front lawn. And this time of morning when this happened, there were people walking out on the streets, pushing their babies in the stroller. No one would have ever known that something like this could happen in this peaceful, quiet neighborhood that was pure chaos just a few hours ago.
Pretty shocked. Didn't expect it.
Quiet Augusta neighborhood rocked Thursday morning. News quickly spreading that Jason McKenzie was the pilot of this single-engine plane that crashed in the front lawn of this home on the corner of Hillcrest Avenue and Belmont Drive.
Well, I went over there to see if anybody was in it, or but at that point it was too late. The plane had already exploded and was engulfed.
Investigators tell News Channel 6 around 7 a.m. McKenzie took off from Daniel Field, and shortly after, he tried to return when the crash happened, somehow navigating through the trees just enough to avoid another tragedy.
It's definitely a miracle. Just by looking at it, the pilot was well experienced, because otherwise he could have landed that plane, like we said, on a house, on top of a car.
District 3 Commissioner Catherine Smith McKnight, one of the many homeowners in this area.
It damaged trees and power lines and knocked out power, but he protected everybody else.
Augusta Fire Chief Antonio Burden with the same thoughts.
And we can only credit that pilot for that situation, for having the wherewithal to not involve another structure.
McKenzie leaves behind a wife and young son, and now they know what a true hero he really was, perhaps preventing more lives from being lost on a day these neighbors will never forget.
And Jason's family, Stephanie, his wife, and his young son, they knew what a hero Jason was. That community here, they are going to rally around the McKenzie family strong. It is a wonderful family to rally around, and that's what's going to happen. As far as the NTSB and the investigation continues, tonight the investigators are going to stay on scene. This wreckage is going to stay here for about 24 to 36 hours. They're going to leave the scene tonight. Sheriff's deputies are going to be standing by to secure it, and then they're going to come back again tomorrow whenever the sun comes back out. As far as those who live in this area, power is still out. They're trying to still restore it for some. And then this area behind me, the crime scene tape will be lifted off. People will be able to come and go. Just a smaller portion will be out. A lot of that is just right now trying to get this other wing out of the top of the trees. And it's going to be about a week before we get a preliminary report back from the NTSB. So not a lot more information at this point. We're just celebrating the life of Jason and what an incredible man he was and the family that he had. Brad, Jenny, back to you.
All right, Barkley, thank you so much, and thank you for your reporting all day. The quiet Somerville and Forest Hills neighborhoods were rocked awake this morning by the sound of the crash. George Escala is standing by live. And George, for this neighborhood, the sound of airplanes coming and going from Daniel Field is not unusual.
Not at all. It's an everyday occurrence, sometimes happening several times a day. And with Daniel Field so close, a lot of these residents have an ear for airplanes. One resident tell me what they heard this morning before the crash wasn't normal. It was louder than usual, and then there was a large pop. That was a signal that something was terribly wrong. So I asked, are they now concerned about having a Daniel Field flight path? directly above their homes.
I've thought about it a little bit this morning, and sort of, but not really. You know, like, we see planes constantly all day, and so it's just kind of one of those things. It's like something's bound to happen eventually, but you know, for the number of planes that have flown over a house, all things considered, it seems pretty safe, but you know, anything can happen.
Now, Becky Shealy, the longtime manager at Daniel Field, says that any decision to change flight paths to prevent planes from flying over nearby homes would be something that the FAA would have to make. That is not a decision that Daniel Field could make on its own. Reporting live in Augusta, George Escala, back to you.
All right, George, thank you so much. It is rare that planes flying out of or landing at Daniel Field crash, but it does happen. You may remember in 2000, a plane crashed into the brick retaining wall at the Augusta Waterworks building. Former state senator Tom Allgood, his wife, and the pilot all lost their lives. In 2020, a single plane crashed into a fence at the airport. The pilot was trying to land the plane on the runway but couldn't stop. He only suffered minor injuries. And in 2007, a plane carrying a pilot and student crashed into the Augusta Municipal Golf Course. Both were unharmed.
Now, a lot of people who knew Jason McKenzie say they loved him, they admired him. With his passion for golf, his work as a philanthropist at Augusta University to help athletics there, and just being involved in his church. They say McKenzie never met a stranger.
Of course, every time something like that happens locally, you just hope that it's not someone you knew. And probably 30 minutes later, I got a call from a friend of mine who said that he had heard that it was Jason's plane and that it was likely Jason that was piloting the plane. And of course, I sent an immediate text to Jason and said, Jason, just checking on you. Heard about the plane crash. Hope you're okay. And of course, I never got a text back.
My goodness. His friends say Jason McKenzie will forever be remembered in this community.
The Exchange Club of Augusta remembered Jason during its monthly meeting today. Graham Lee is live now in the Satellite News Center with more. Graham?
Well, Jenny, certainly mixed emotions at the Exchange Club of Augusta. They celebrated their annual Youth of the Year Awards luncheon, but they mentioned Jason's name during their opening prayer. His father, Don, was a longtime member of the Exchange Club, and members say Jason grew up going to the Exchange Club fair as a child. And that prayer today was led by former associate pastor of First Baptist Church, Roger Murchison, who is a current member of the Exchange Club. I got to catch up with him after the luncheon, and he says the news is devastating, knowing what McKenzie meant to the community.
When you met Jason, you like Jason, friendly, outgoing. He's the kind of person that as you talk to, you realize he's very sincere and very open in life. Love to play golf, and so this community is sad.
Certainly the community is sad. Exchange Club President Mike Downing did not want to comment on the plane crash or McKenzie's death at this time. You'll hear more reaction from those Exchange Club members coming up in the next hour at News Channel 6 at 6. Jenny?
All right, Graham, thank you so much. And we have to say this is especially emotional because we had a relationship with Jason. We remember 20-some years ago when he did his sports internship here at News Channel 6.
Yeah, he was just this eager, ambitious, super positive presence at Television Park and learned the ropes, certainly, of the sports world, and obviously learned the ropes of the public relations world because that's eventually where he ended up. But what a bright light.
What a bright light, and our thoughts are certainly with his wife, his child, and his mother, Becky.